Welcome in, everyone, to a deep dive into one of the most prolific inventors in history, Thomas Edison.
Yeah, Thomas Edison, everyone thinks they know,
Right, like light bulbs.
right, light bulbs, but there's so much more to his story.
Oh, yeah, so much more. So, where should we even begin?
Well, I think it's always helpful to start at the beginning.
Okay, so childhood.
Exactly, childhood. And you know what's interesting is that Edison's early fascination with technology wasn't in some fancy lab or workshop.
It wasn't.
Nope. It was sparked by something much simpler, the telegraph.
The telegraph, huh?
Yes, the telegraph. You see, back then it was the cutting edge of communication, and young Edison was captivated by its clicks and signals.
So, like Morse code.
Exactly, Morse code, this language of dots and dashes that allowed messages to travel across vast distances.
That's pretty cool when you think about it, like instant communication across continents.
It was revolutionary, and for Edison, it was more than just a technology. It was like a puzzle, a code he was determined to crack.
And you know what's even more fascinating is that Edison's partial deafness, something you might think would be a hindrance, actually played a role in his early fascination with the telegraph.
It's true, in a way, his hearing impairment helped him focus on the subtle sounds of the telegraph, the clicks, the buzzes, the rhythms of the signals.
Wow, so it's like his ear was tuned to those specific frequencies.
Precisely, he could block out distractions and really hone in on those intricate patterns of sound.
So he had this unique ability to hear what others couldn't.
Exactly, and this ability would serve him well throughout his life.
So he's a kid fascinated by the telegraph. What happens next?
Well, his fascination quickly turns into a passion, a drive to understand not just how the telegraph works, but how to make it better.
He wasn't just a passive observer?
No, he was a tinkerer, a problem solver, and he didn't wait for opportunity to come knocking. He went out and created it.
So he's not in a lab, he's out in the field.
That's right.
Yeah.
Picture young Edison, barely a teenager, working as an itinerant telegraph operator.
An itinerant telegraph operator? What's that?
Basically, he was on the move, traveling from town to town, working on telegraph lines, troubleshooting, repairing equipment.
So he's like a telegraph doctor making house calls.
That's a great way to put it. He was constantly on the go, fixing problems, keeping those lines of communication open.
That must have been an incredible learning experience.
It exposed him to all sorts of challenges, different types of equipment, weather conditions, the intricacies of long-distance communication.
So he's soaking it all up, the practical knowledge, the hands-on experience.
Exactly. And he's not just fixing things. He's observing, he's analyzing, he's thinking about how to improve the entire system.
And this is all before he even sets foot in a proper lab.
That's right. He's learning in the trenches, getting his hands dirty, and this practical experience would lay the foundation for his future inventions.
It's like a real-world apprenticeship.
It is. And this apprenticeship would lead him to his first major invention, the stock ticker.
The stock ticker, that sounds familiar.
It revolutionized the way financial markets operated.
Okay, so before we get into the stock ticker, I need a little background. Like, what was the state of the financial world back then?
Well, think about it. The mid-1800s, a time of rapid industrial growth, railroads, expanding businesses, booming, and with all this activity came a surge in stock trading.
So Wall Street's getting busy.
Very busy, and the need for up-to-date stock prices was becoming crucial.
But how do they keep track of prices back then?
Well, it was a slow and cumbersome process involving messengers running back and forth between brokerage houses and the stock exchange.
Okay, so not exactly efficient.
Not at all. It was chaotic, time-consuming, and prone to errors.
And this is where Edison steps in.
Precisely. Edison saw a problem, and he had a solution.
Okay, drum roll, please. What did he come up with?
The stock ticker, a device that used the telegraph to transmit stock prices in real time to offices all over the city.
Wow, so he basically married the telegraph and the financial market.
Exactly. He saw the potential of this new technology to transform an entire industry.
So how did it work?
Well, the stock ticker was this ingenious contraption that received telegraph signals and then printed out the stock symbols and their corresponding prices on a narrow strip of paper.
So imagine like a little printing press spitting out stock quotes.
Exactly. And these tickers were installed in brokerage houses, banks, and even private offices, allowing investors to track the market as it happened.
It's like having a live feed of stock prices right at your fingertips.
It was a game changer. It brought transparency, speed, and efficiency to the financial world.
And I bet it made Edison a pretty successful young man.
It did. The stock ticker was a huge commercial success, and it established Edison as a rising star in the world of invention.
So he's got this hit invention, but knowing Edison, he didn't stop there, did he?
Of course not. He was always looking for ways to improve, to innovate, to push the boundaries of what was possible.
So what was next on his agenda?
Well, his next big breakthrough would come in the field of telegraphy itself, with an invention that would once again revolutionize communication, the quadruplex telegraph.
The quadruplex telegraph, that sounds impressive.
Imagine being able to send not one, not two, but four messages simultaneously over a single telegraph wire.
Wait, 4 messages at once? How is that even possible?
It was a feat of engineering ingenuity. Edison devised a system that used different electrical currents and polarities to encode and decode multiple messages on the same wire.
So it's like a telegraph highway with multiple lanes of communication.
That's a great analogy. He essentially multiplied the capacity of existing telegraph lines.
That's incredible. So what kind of impact did this have?
Well, the quadruplex telegraph was a game changer. It dramatically increased the speed and efficiency of communication networks.
So messages are flying back and forth faster than ever before?
Exactly. It's like going from dial-up internet to broadband.
So what kind of impact did this have on the world?
Well, think about it. News traveled faster, businesses could communicate more efficiently, governments could coordinate actions more effectively.
It's like the world got a whole lot smaller.
It did. The quadruplex telegraph helped connect people and ideas in ways that were previously unimaginable.
So not just a technological marvel, but a social one too.
Exactly, and it's another example of Edison's vision to not just invent, but to improve, to optimize, to make things better for everyone.
But Edison wasn't just about technical innovation. He also had a keen sense of business, right?
Oh, absolutely. He was a savvy entrepreneur as well as an inventor, and he knew how to leverage his inventions for maximum impact.
So how did he do that with the quadruplex telegraph?
Well, instead of selling his invention outright, he decided to lease the equipment to telegraph companies.
That's smart. He's creating a recurring revenue stream.
Exactly. It was a brilliant business model. It ensured a steady income, and it also fostered ongoing relationships with his clients.
So he's not just selling a product, he's building a partnership.
That's right. He's thinking long-term strategically, and this approach would become a hallmark of his success.
So we've got the telegraph prodigy turned successful entrepreneur. What's next for Edison?
Well, his journey of innovation takes an interesting turn. He sets his sights on another groundbreaking technology, the telephone.
The telephone. So is this where he goes head-to-head with Alexander Graham Bell?
Well, not exactly. Bell is credited with inventing the telephone, but Edison saw an opportunity to make it better, much better.
So he's not starting from scratch. He's building on someone else's work.
That's right. He's taking an existing technology and refining it, improving it, making it more practical and accessible.
So what was wrong with Bell's telephone?
Well, Bell's early telephones were functional, but they had a major drawback. The sound transmission was weak and often difficult to hear.
So you had to like shout into it.
Pretty much. Wasn't very practical for everyday conversations.
And Edison saw a way to fix that.
He did. He applied his knowledge of sound and electricity to develop a revolutionary new component, the carbon microphone.
The carbon microphone, is that what we still use today?
It's the precursor to modern microphones.
Yeah.
And it was a game changer for the telephone.
So how did it work?
Well, the carbon microphone used compressed carbon granules that changed resistance when sound waves hit them. This variation in resistance created an electrical signal that could be transmitted over wires.
So it's like translating sound into electricity.
Exactly. And the carbon microphone was much more sensitive than Bell's original design, resulting in clearer and louder sound transmission.
So conversations are suddenly crystal clear.
Maybe not crystal clear, but definitely much clearer and louder.
So no more shouting into the phone.
Exactly. Edison's carbon microphone made the telephone a viable communication tool, paving the way for its widespread adoption.
And that wasn't his only contribution to the telephone, was it?
Nope. He also developed the chalk receiver, which further amplified sound and laid the groundwork for future loudspeaker technology.
He was constantly innovating. Wasn't he always pushing the boundaries of what was possible?
He had this insatiable curiosity and a relentless drive to improve, and this would lead him to his most cherished invention of all, the phonograph.
Okay, so we've talked about Edison's impact on communication with the telegraph and the telephone, but the phonograph, that's a whole other level of innovation.
It is. The phonograph would capture the world's imagination, change the way we experience sound, and lay the foundation for the entire recording industry.
But before we dive into that fascinating story, let's take a moment to appreciate the significance of the telephone.
Absolutely. The telephone was a truly transformative technology, and Edison's contributions played a crucial role in making it the ubiquitous tool it is today.
Imagine a world without telephones.
It's almost impossible to conceive of modern life without them.
And that's a testament to the power of innovation, of the relentless pursuit of making things better, clearer, more connected.
It's a theme that runs throughout Edison's work, and it's one we'll continue to explore as we delve deeper into his world of invention.
So the phonograph, Edison's baby.
You could say that it was the invention he was most proud of, the one he considered his true original contribution to the world.
And it all stemmed from this fascination with sound, this idea of not just transmitting it, but capturing it, preserving it.
Exactly. Edison had already revolutionized the telephone with his carbon microphone, but he was captivated by the idea of making sound tangible, of giving it a physical form.
And this wasn't just a random idea. It emerged from his work on the telegraph and the telephone, right?
Absolutely. It was a culmination of years of experimentation and observation.
So he's tinkering away in his lab, and boom, the phonograph is born.
Not quite. It wasn't a sudden flash of brilliance, but a gradual process of discovery.
So walk me through it. How did this idea take shape?
Well, imagine Edison in his lab working with the telegraph and the telephone. He's noticing the vibrations, the way sound waves interact with physical objects.
And he starts thinking, what if I could capture these vibrations somehow?
Precisely. And then comes that famous aha moment. He realizes that if he could record these vibrations onto a moving surface, he could actually preserve sound.
And that's how the phonograph was born.
In essence, yes, the first phonograph used a rotating cylinder wrapped in tinfoil.
Tinfoil, that's pretty ingenious.
It was Edison spoke into a diaphragm, which vibrated a needle that etched a groove onto the tinfoil.
So he's essentially carving sound onto this tinfoil cylinder.
Exactly. And to play back the sound, he simply reversed the process. The needle traced the groove, the diaphragm vibrated, and voila, sound.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it. For the first time in history, sound could be captured and replayed.
It was a revolution. Changed our relationship with sound forever.
Imagine the impact hearing a human voice reproduced for the first time.
It must have been incredible, like magic.
But the early phonographs, they weren't exactly high-fidelity systems, were they?
No, the sound quality was scratchy, and the tinfoil cylinders were delicate, easily damaged.
So not exactly ready for mass production?
Not yet. But
Oh.
Edison, being Edison, he wasn't satisfied. He kept tinkering, experimenting, looking for ways to improve.
And he made some significant progress, right?
He did. He replaced the tinfoil with wax cylinders, which were more durable and offered better sound quality.
Wax cylinders. I remember those from my grandma's attic.
They were a staple of early sound recording. And Edison also introduced an electric motor to replace the hand crank, making the phonograph more practical for everyday use.
So he's constantly refining the technology, making it more user-friendly.
Exactly. He wanted to bring the magic of recorded sound to everyone.
But the phonograph faced some stiff competition, didn't it?
It did, from a rival technology. The gramophone developed by Emil Berliner.
The gramophone. So what was the difference?
Well, the gramophone used a flat disc instead of cylinder.
So like a vinyl record.
Exactly. The disc format proved to be more durable, easier to mass produce, and ultimately more appealing to consumers.
So Edison's cylinder phonograph, it lost the battle of formats.
In a way, yes, but the legacy of the phonographs is undeniable.
It paved the way for the entire recording industry.
And it all started with Edison's vision, his relentless pursuit of capturing and preserving sound.
So from capturing sound to illuminating the world, let's talk about Edison's most iconic invention, the light bulb.
Ah, the light bulb. The invention that forever changed the way we live and work.
But it wasn't just about the bulb itself, was it?
No. Edison's vision was much grander. He wanted to create an entire system of electric lighting.
A system, so not just a bulb, but the infrastructure to power it.
Exactly. He understood that a truly revolutionary technology requires a supportive ecosystem.
So where did this vision come from?
Well, Edison was inspired by William Wallace's arc lamp system.
The arc lamp, wasn't that already a form of electric lighting?
It was, but it was too intense, too bright, too unwieldy for everyday use.
So Edison wanted to tame the electric light, make it suitable for homes and businesses.
That was his goal, to subdivide the light, to make it practical and accessible for everyone.
And that's where the incandescent light bulb comes in.
Exactly. But the path to a practical light bulb was paved with challenges.
What kind of challenges?
The biggest challenge was finding the right material for the filament.
The filament, that's the little wire inside the bulb that glows, right?
Exactly. The filament had to be durable enough to withstand high temperatures and have the right electrical properties to produce a sustained glow.
So not just any wire would do.
Definitely not. Edison and his team tested thousands of materials from all over the world.
Thousands, that's dedication.
They were relentless in their pursuit of the perfect filament.
And what did they finally land on?
Bamboo, believe it or not.
Bamboo, the stuff pandas eat.
The very same. It turned out to be surprisingly durable and had excellent electrical properties.
So the humble bamboo held the key to electric lighting.
It did. It was a testament to Edison's perseverance and his willingness to experiment with unconventional materials.
But the filament was just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Edison also had to create a high vacuum inside the bulb.
Why a vacuum?
To prevent the filament from burning out too quickly, oxygen would cause the filament to oxidize and break down.
So the vacuum essentially suffocates the fire.
In a way, yes, it creates an oxygen-free environment where the filament can glow for extended periods.
It's amazing how much science and engineering goes into something as simple as a light bulb.
It is, and Edison's genius was in bringing all these elements together to create a practical and reliable system.
But he wasn't just focused on the bulb itself, was he?
No, he was thinking bigger. He was developing an entire infrastructure to support his electric light system.
So power generation, distribution, safety, all
Yeah,
that.
exactly. He built power plants, designed dynamos, laid down miles of electrical wiring.
He was creating a network, a web of electricity that would power entire cities.
It was a monumental undertaking, a testament to his vision and his ambition.
But this vision would soon clash with another emerging technology, alternating current, or AC.
Ah, yes, the War of the Currents, a battle of titans that would shape the future of electrical power.
Edison was a staunch advocate for direct current, DC, right?
He believed that DC was safer and more reliable than AC.
But AC had its advantages too, didn't it?
AC could be transmitted over much longer distances with less power loss.
So it was more efficient for large-scale power distribution. Exactly. And despite Edison's best efforts, AC eventually won out, becoming the standard for power grids around the world.
It's interesting how even brilliant minds can sometimes cling to their initial ideas even when evidence points to a better alternative.
It's human nature to resist change, especially when you've invested so much time and energy into something.
But in the end, progress often requires letting go of old ideas and embracing new ones.
And that's what happened with AC. It was a technological evolution that ultimately benefited everyone.
So Edison's DC system, it may have lost the battle, but his contributions to electrifying the world are undeniable.
Absolutely. He laid the foundation for our modern power grid, a marvel of engineering that powers our lives today.
And amidst all this work on electricity, he still found time for other inventions, didn't he?
He did. He never stopped exploring new ideas, pushing the boundaries of what was possible.
And one of those explorations led to the kinetoscope.
The kinetoscope, a precursor to the motion picture projector, a glimpse into the future of entertainment.
So Edison is now venturing into the world of moving pictures. He's always been fascinated by the idea of capturing motion, of making still images come to life.
And this fascination led him to draw inspiration from the work of Edward Muybridge.
Edward Muybridge, a pioneer of motion photography.
Wasn't he the one who used multiple cameras to capture the movement of a horse?
Yes, his famous series of photographs proved that at one point, all four hooves of a galloping horse are off the ground.
It was a breakthrough in understanding animal locomotion.
And Edison saw the potential of this technology to capture not just animal motion, but human motion stories, entire worlds, brought to life through moving images.
And this is where the kinetoscope comes in.
Exactly. The kinetoscope was a device that allowed individual viewing of moving pictures.
So it wasn't projected onto a screen.
No, you peered into this cabinet-like device and watched a short film loop.
It's like a personal movie theater.
In a way, yes. And while it wasn't the cinema we know today, it was a groundbreaking invention.
And as always, Edison wasn't working alone, was he?
No, his assistant William Dixon played a crucial role in developing the kinetoscope.
Dixon, another unsung hero of innovation.
Absolutely. The history of invention is full of these collaborations, these partnerships that drive progress.
So the kinetoscope, it was a marvel of its time, but Edison had even bigger dreams, didn't he?
He did. He wanted to combine the magic of moving pictures with the magic of recorded sound.
So he was envisioning talking pictures way back then.
He tried to create a device called the kinetophone, which would synchronize the kinetoscope with the phonograph.
A true multimedia experience.
Exactly. But the technology wasn't quite there yet. The synchronization was difficult to achieve, and the sound quality was poor.
So the kinetophone, it was ahead of its time.
It was. But it shows Edison's relentless drive to innovate, to push the boundaries of what was possible.
He was always looking to the future, always trying to create something new, something amazing.
And that's the legacy of Thomas Edison, a man who never stopped dreaming, inventing, and inspiring generations to come.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it, how one man's inventions could have such a huge impact on the world.
I know, right from communicating instantly across continents to capturing sound and making moving pictures, it's hard to imagine life without them.
Yeah, totally. And what always gets me about Edison is that he was more than just an inventor. He was a builder and a businessman.
You're so right about that he didn't just come up with these incredible ideas, he figured out how to actually make them work in the real world.
Yeah, he built systems and companies and brought together teams of talented people to help him achieve his vision.
And it's this ability to collaborate that really sets him apart.
I agree. He knew he couldn't do it all alone.
Yeah, he was smart enough to surround himself with brilliant minds and create an environment where innovation could flourish.
Think about William Dixon working on the kinetoscope with him.
Yeah, such a great example of how teamwork can lead to incredible breakthroughs.
It really makes you think about the nature of invention, right?
Yeah, it's not always about that lone genius moment.
Sometimes it's about bringing together the right people and having the vision and the determination to see it through.
And speaking of vision, what if Edison had seen the potential of AC earlier?
Ah, the war of the currents.
Yeah. What if he had embraced AC instead of sticking with DC?
Who knows how things might have turned out?
It's interesting to think about the different paths technology could have taken.
Makes you wonder what other ideas or inventions might have been lost or delayed because of certain choices.
Yeah, it's a reminder that innovation isn't always a straight line.
It's a messy process with lots of twists and turns.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's about being adaptable and open to new ideas, even when they challenge your own beliefs.
Which Edison definitely did throughout his life.
He never stopped learning, experimenting, pushing the boundaries of what was possible.
Even when things didn't go his way, like with the kinetophone.
Ah, yes, the dream of talking pictures.
It was a great idea, but the technology just wasn't there yet.
Ahead of its time, for sure.
But it shows his incredible foresight and imagination.
And that's what's so inspiring about Edison.
He was a visionary, an inventor, a businessman, and above all, a tireless innovator.
Someone who believed in the power of ideas to change the world.
His story is a reminder that with curiosity, persistence, and a bit of ingenuity, we can achieve incredible things.
Absolutely, and it's a story that continues to inspire us today.
Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of Thomas Edison.
A man who truly lit up the world with his inventions.
We hope you enjoyed the journey and maybe even learned a thing or two along the way.
And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to go out there and create something amazing yourself.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep innovating.